the step number one is always getting state, right, before you speak. And then, so that's the idea is, what I like to get in state usually? I listen to music and makes me happy. So let's do some work here. I want to talk today about 10, how many? Just 10. Just 10 little things that you can do to improve your speaking. And I feel that's going to be super helpful. Now, if you're doing public speaking, if you don't mind, put yourself on mute, and then I can open the call later on so you guys can ask me any questions. But I want to talk about only 10 things that you can do today, immediately, right after this call, so that can either A, increase your confidence level when you speak to groups, you speak in front of a camera, you're doing webinars, you're doing Facebook Live, YouTube, whatever you want to do. So that's number one. I want to give you 5 new beliefs that you can take with speaking to a whole new level. That's number 1. And number 2, number 2 here, I want to talk about some influence strategies. Now, I have the honor and the privilege of reviewing a lot of talks. When I say a lot of talks, now speakers from 31 different industries send me these talks. And when I look at talk, people don't know this. They say, why public speaking coach is so expensive? Well, let me tell you why it's so expensive. Number 1, because it produces results for people. That's number 1, right? But number 2, when I see a talk, for 1 hour of a talk, for me to do a good job, it takes anywhere from 5 to 6 hours of presentation review. I break down all the structure of a talk, I break down the delivery of a talk, and now what I do, I get a talk and I have a checklist of over 20 influence strategies that I go click, 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 and sometimes all I have to do is say, hey man, your talk is missing these 5 things you gotta do, and you see conversions like boom, super fast. So here you go. So if you have a pen and paper, now this Facebook Live will be a little bit long, so forgive me, I'm doing a teleconference call here, and I'm doing a Facebook Live too, just because we love leverage, leverage. So number 1, I want to talk about the psychology we're presenting, and here you go. Write this down. The difference between the fear of speaking and the fear of not speaking is purpose. Write it down. The fear the difference between the fear of speaking and the fear of not speaking is purpose. A lot of people go, man, I'm afraid to speak, or I don't want to record a video. And for me, the difference between that person who has the fear and the one who pushed through the fear is purpose. The question is, how big is your purpose? How important is your purpose? Now, there's a story that I told 1,000 times, and I think you heard this story before, but I think this story that has to do about purpose that really helps me illustrate my point. There's 3 guys working in a construction site doing exactly the same thing. They're doing exactly the same thing. And this gentleman was walking the street, and then he noticed that a different energy level. So the first person, by the way, they're doing the same thing, right? So the first guy goes in a very bad mood. The second guy is super happy. The third guy jumping, super crazy, super high. And this gentleman who was walking the street approached the first guy and said, excuse me, sir, what are you doing? He said, can't you see it? Playing bricks. In a very bad mood. Like, okay, man, okay, I'm sorry. Now, he approached the second guy, happier, and the second guy, almost like dancing and singing. He goes, sir, what are you doing? By the way, the second guy is doing the same thing. He said, can't you see it? I am building this beautiful wall. Oh, like, wow. So the first guy was laying bricks, the second guy building a wall, and then the third guy is jumping everywhere. He said, almost like, Michael Jackson in his times, right? Dancing and jumping, high-fiving, doing the same thing. He said, sir, what are you doing? You're so happy. He goes, look, can't you see it? I am building a school, and this school will be able to educate all the kids here in my community, including my son. See, they're doing exactly the same thing. The third person had a huge purpose. And because they had purpose, push through it and do things at the highest, best level possible. And what I found with this speaking, a lot of people think that speaking is about a chore. Oh, I have to do it. And the truth is, you don't have to do it. It's an honor to do it. You see, if you love what you do every single day, then speaking is just a magnifier. Now, if you hate, here's the news, right? I have good news, bad news, is that speaking, communication, video marketing, influence groups is an amplification of your things you do. Now, if you hate the things that you do, then maybe speaking is not for you because it won't help you. Now, if you absolutely, man, I love what I do one-on-one, then you're gonna love, right? Because you see, leaders don't hide behind the desk. Right? You don't hide. Good. So, number one, the difference between the fear of speaking and the fear of not speaking is purpose. So, you tap into your purpose. Number one. Second belief, okay? So, people say, Roberto, so where does this purpose come from? That's the second belief that I have for you. Here you go. Purpose is born, write this down. Purpose is born from one's commitment to defeat a problem. Write it down. Purpose is born from one's commitment to defeat a problem. Now, are you committed to solve one or more problems? Now, I'm committed, okay, 1,000% committed to solve the communication problem. See, I have not developed public speaking. Public speaking has been around for 2,500 years. 2,500 years, right? There's books, I have a collection of books, as a matter of fact, there, that they've been written 300 years before the Bible. Think about that. Books on speaking. They didn't call it speaking, they call it rhetoric at that time. And the point is that throughout these years, if you think about it, the top 3% in any field, they are leaders that use public speaking to move people into masses. Now, for me, I'm committed to solve a problem because here's the sad news. The sad news that when I go to events all the time and I see people spending money with production and the AV and all this stuff, and the speakers suck. The most important thing, they suck. Right? And if you think about people who change the world, they're amazing communicators. So for me, my commitment is that to solve the problem of communication. Why? Roberto, why are you committed? Because I struggle more than anybody else. As you guys know my story, I came here from Brazil. When I was 15 years in Brazil, I was in high school, and you had to elect to take a class. And for me, I was living in Brazil, and Brazil is surrounded by countries who speak Spanish. And I told myself, man, I'll never have to learn English, right? Because I'll never be able to, I don't need to use it. And so I took Spanish, and here I am later on living in America for 21 years. So the idea is that you have to be committed, I mean, for real. What's your commitment? What's the problem you're committed to solve? I know one of my clients that, dude, never before he spoke, never before recorded a video, was always hiding. And then I kept pushing the button, and now for him, he has this personal desire. And he's so committed to solve this problem that he is everywhere. And I'm telling you right now, if you are not on fire communicating your message, that you're like maybe 99% committed to solve a problem, you're not 100% committed to a problem. And it's just like, you know, the story about this guy goes to Vegas for a convention. Supposed to be there Wednesday and Thursday, come back Friday, married guy. And his wife went at home, right? Oh, my husband went to Vegas Wednesday and Thursday. So Friday is supposed to fly back. Friday, the husband called the wife and say, hey, honey, I love you so much. I miss you. She goes, oh, I miss you too. I can't wait for you to come back home. And he goes, oh, by the way, my buddy invited me to stay one more night in Vegas here. Say, okay. And by the way, I am 99% committed to you. The wife like, what? Right? What happens if your loved one say, hey, my love is so big, I am 99% committed to you, or 99.9. Doesn't happen, right? Either in or out. So either you're in or out, committed or not, to solve a problem. And the reason people don't have this, man, how you're so fired up, is because you're not committed to solve a problem. Simple as that. So find a bigger problem to solve. Number 3, write this down. The fear of speaking is temporary. The impact of your message is eternal. Ooh, right? Write this down. Think about that. The fear of speaking temporarily. Oh man, I gotta record the video. I gotta go to the radio show, the TV. But the impact of your message is eternal. I had a presentation that, and this weekend on Monday, I went to Nashville to speak to this awesome group. And I was thinking about that. And now we are like 2017. The reason I got hired to do a keynote in 2017 is because back in 2009, do the math, right? 2009, someone invited me to do I live in San Diego, to fly to Atlanta, do a talk for free in Atlanta, and they're not paying for my airfare, they're not paying for my hotel, and I couldn't sell from stage like 3 days of my calendar back in 2009. And I did it. And because I did it, I met all these people, and now, and I still network in the industry. I still getting speaking gigs because I did one talk that I didn't want to give, right? But I gave anyway back in 2009. So you don't know. So that was I afraid? Was I afraid that I was going to waste my time? For sure. Fly from San Diego to Atlanta and spend my time there. And what if I don't get clients? Spend money, all this stuff. Of course. But you see, the message though is eternal. So much so that I still doing business, like whatever, 8 years later. It's insane, right? Okay, another one. Now let me drink a little water here because I'm getting too far up. This one. Look, don't aim to finish a talk. Aim to start a revolution. So many people are afraid to close. Oh my God, I hate closing. Because if you're speaking, or if you want to speak, some people, they're afraid to speak. Some people, they are not afraid to speak, but they don't like closing. And closing should be your favorite part, for real. Why? Because your message starts when your presentation ends, right? Presentation ends, your message starts. If you're a chiropractor, for example, your message starts when people go and see you. If I'm a speaking coach like myself, my message starts not here when you come and work with me, come to my classes, because you're going to learn way more in 30 hours than in a half an hour talk. So you have to be so excited. And one of the biggest mistakes people do is that they spend all this time working on PowerPoint and looking at the and change the little picture and the fonts and the nice slide, and they don't rehearse the talk, and the talk sucks. So the idea is that I feel that I never think in terms of like finish a talk. I think in terms of like start a revolution. And for me, because I have that purpose brewing inside, so I feel like if you are an influencer communicator, then you have to have this energy, like man, and your message or mission is literally a revolution. All right? And the last principle before I switch gears here and talk about some influence strategies that you can use today is this. Please write this down. If you don't have urgency to present, your audience will not going to have urgency to act. Okay? If you don't have urgency to present, your audience will not have urgency to act. And urgency, and obviously, every time you're communicating and you want to create an emotional state in your audience, the primary 4 ways, right? Primarily, you can take them to the past. Remember a time in your life when? That's one. You can take them in the future. Now stop and imagine it's going to happen a year from today or 6 months from today. You can also tell a story. And the 4th way, there's more ways, but this core 4 is how it always works, right? Is that you have to feel before you communicate. See? The average presenter, okay, describes without feeling. The influencer feels before describing. Get it? The presenter, the people who are wasting your time out there, they're not good. They describe the information without feeling. Now, influencers, what happens is that they feel, that's the word, remember, they feel before they describe the information. And that's what makes the message so powerful. So for me, when I communicate, I think in terms of like, man, what's going to happen if someone goes to the marketplace right now and they do a presentation, they're terrible. Now, in some cases, okay, our clients, our message is about life and death. And if the audience doesn't buy into my client's message, man, they're going to struggle. And that's why you got to have urgency. Not stress, just urgency, man. And most people, we think we have all this time. You think that that there's something called the law of illusory superiority, and think, oh man, bad things won't happen, and I'm smarter than I think I am, and I'm better looking. But the truth is, right, if you type it up and look later on, the law of illusory superiority states that most people think we're better than we are. We think we're better drivers. We think we're better, more intelligent. We think that we are better looking than we actually are. And this law causes us, right, to say not having urgency. Oh, because yeah, I will do that later, or I don't have to take care of my health right now because health is not important. Right? I just did an event the other day for a company, and I asked them, dude, what's important to you? What else is important to you? So I had them to list all the things that are important to them, and health was not even the list. It's crazy. So the whole idea is that if you don't have urgency, no stress, then you're going to struggle. So that was my couple ideas. So I'm going to recap here if you just join us. Number one, the difference between the fear of speaking and the fear of not speaking is purpose. Number two, I talk about purpose is born from one's commitment to defeat a problem. Are you committed to solve a problem? Number three, the fear of speaking is temporary. The impact of a message is eternal, okay, which is super cool. Number four, don't aim to finish a talk, aim to start a revolution. And number five, if you don't have urgency to present, your audience will not have urgency to watch, to act. Boom. All right. So let's change gear. I'm going to change gears on you here. And I want to talk about some influence strategies. 5 quick principles before you wrap up the call. Okay. Number one, write it down. Make sure, by the way, this is not public speaking gig. This is like communication. So if you're doing one-on-one communication, if you're doing group communication, if you're doing video marketing, public speaking, webinars, you want to did I say all these 5 influence quick tips will help you increase your what? Likelihood. Say likelihood. Likelihood of converting. There's no such thing as like do ABC and you're going to close everybody. That's a lie. Huh? Now, what exists is principles based on science that once you apply them, they increase your what? Your likelihood of doing a better job of converting people or getting people, accept your message. Number one, freedom of choice. Write it down. Freedom of choice, which means that you always want to, even though we all know that you have the power to decide what you do, research shows that when you acknowledge your audience, hey, by the way, ultimately you have the power to decide what you want to do. Right? Once you acknowledge people that they have the power to decide what to do, resistance decreases. Right? So make sure in your one-on-one pitch, in your public speaking pitch, in your video, whatever, how you're pitching, that you always acknowledge the freedom of choice that people have. Now, I know that you know they have, and they know that you know they have, but just the fact that acknowledging is powerful. Because sometimes what happens in sales is that we are so committed, so single-minded, like, man, you gotta do, that's the only way. And so, by the way, I made a mistake too of coming across the way as well. And sometimes when you come across the way, it's just not good. Okay? So number one, influence tip here, freedom of choice. That's it, my boy, Robert Brown, writing down. Number two, fluency. Right? Number two, número dos, fluency. Fluency means that there's research, because the idea of credibility, a lot of scientists study credibility, and credibility, is two things. The credibility is about expertise and trustworthiness, right? So credibility, how credible you are, has to do about your expert status, how much you know stuff, and trustworthiness, which means that are you telling the truth? Do you have the best interest for me? And one of the things that researchers found is that fluency, your capacity to deliver a message fluently, right, increases your credibility. And when you have specific, like non-fluencies, they call non-fluencies, decrease your credibility. So for example, for me, I have a thick accent. Oh, really, Roberto? Really? No, yeah, you have a thick accent. I have a thick accent, right? So that's, according to research, that's not good, because if I have this if I say a lot of, for example, filler words, ums and ahs, that's what they call non-fluencies. And you can be the most brilliant scientist out there, the number one expert, but if in your communication, in the delivery of your message, if you have these non-fluencies, for example, filler words, speaking too fast, being nervous, losing the train of thought, okay, decreases your credibility, right? Which ultimately less credibility, less conversion. All right, so we talk about freedom of choice, we talk about fluency. Number 3, self-persuasion. And self-persuasion, when I do talks or presentations, let me drink some water here real quick. I always think in terms of like this. If I tell the audience, they may doubt. Now, when they tell me it's true, all right? So write down, self-persuasion. So all my talks that I do, I try to come up with questions. So in the beginning of my talk, I set it up so that instead of me telling them, they tell me. So it's their idea. And when I use self-persuasion, then increase my likelihood of converting. So thanks so much, Bob Brown. The best, man. Appreciate you, buddy. So here you go. So let me give an example of self-persuasion that I do. When I do talks and I'm promoting, let's say, a public speaking class, what I do, instead of saying, hey, if you want to lead your market, you have to be a speaker, you have to speak, right? I could say that, right? And people go, no, that's not true because I know so-and-so who is a leader, but he never spoke, okay? Which happens. So I apply this self-persuasion. I'll give an example so you can apply in your industry. I ask them, look, guys, do me a favor, write down one leader in business that you admire and trust. Just one name. Write down a leader in your industry that you admire and trust. Write down a name of a spiritual leader that you admire and trust. Write down the name of an entertainer that you admire and trust. And I tell a joke, write down a name of a political leader that I admire and trust. People are like, I don't know anybody. He goes, well, Nelson Mandela. So now usually they have like, whatever, 4 or 5 names. So they wrote down the names. And then I ask, now let me ask you something. Are these people that you wrote down, are they out there speaking, doing videos, TV, events, radio? If that's true, everybody raise your hand. And usually out of 100 people, I get 100 people because remember, they all raise a hand. And then I tell them, look, you see, so that's the first lesson. That public speaking is about what? Leadership. So let me show you what you need in terms of communication to lead better. So you see how I apply this self-persuasion exercise. Instead of telling them, hey, all the leaders in the world speak, I don't do that. I just say, hey, you tell me your top 5 leaders. They wrote it down. And I ask, are they speaking in groups? They go, yes. So then I connect. So now you see, every time I tell something, you may doubt it. When they tell me is what? Truth. So how can you apply self-persuasion? Okay. Number 4, self-centered. Right? Self-centered, which means that in all the scripts that I see, unconsciously, and even emails ago, because I'm gonna do, because we are gonna do, because I'm gonna do, and research, like the reptilian brain, the decision makers, all they care is about them, right? So the whole idea is that you always want to change the frame from I to you. So one of the exercises that I do, even myself, because I'm so caught up on like, I'm gonna teach, and I change my language. Instead of saying, look, today I'm gonna show you, you go, you're about to discover. Today I'm gonna show you the 3 ways. Today you're about to discover 3 ways. So self-centeredness means that, or self-centered means that your audience care about them. So one way is to communicate, you just go your dreams, your homes, your money, your family, your information. You're about to discover. You will know. And even I know this. I teach this. Sometimes I catch myself writing on my emails or my talks. And I flip. And there's a bunch of research talk about the use of I and the use of you in scripts. And when you have more, use of unit scripts that increase the likelihood, that's all we're trying to do here, increase the likelihood of conversion. And the last one is contrast, okay? The last one is contrast. And contrast, by the way, there's an old school study, a little water here before I talk about that one. Old school study done, it's called the science of applause. So basically they interview, it was done in England, they collect 486 speeches, political speeches, okay? So, by the way, the measurement was not sales, I want to be clear, was not sales, was applauses. So they noticed that for they collect and record 400 plus speeches, political speeches, and some speeches had 8 times more applause than others. So the quote unquote here, applause was the biggest thing, right? And they say, what these speeches that have 8 times more applauses have in common than the other ones? And they come up with a list of 7 things, okay? Now, one of the 7 things is contrast. Thank you, Rob, appreciate that, buddy. Is contrast, because contrast, you see your reptilian brain can access pictures way more faster than language. So the other day, I live in Mission Valley in San Diego here. It's not like I live in a nature, but there's a little river by my house. And one day I was running, I mean literally running, and all of a sudden I go like this, like, yeah! Freaked out. I literally freaked out because I thought it was a snake, you know, and it was a piece of wood. But it was so fast that I could not consciously think, oh, this is just a piece of tree on the floor, I'm not gonna freak out. I just jumped, my heart's exploding. So super fast but that happens first. You see how fast your reptilian brain makes decisions to protect you. So because contrast. So Roberto, how do you apply contrast? You apply contrast with everything. You can contrast money, contrast how much time they're going to save. You can contrast what it is now, what can be in the future. You can contrast lifestyle. You can, if you're doing speaking, you can contrast. You can speak super fast. You can slow down a little bit. You can go super high. You can go low. So contrast, like in presentation, if you are showing some visuals, or like PowerPoint, for example, contrast the fonts, the colors, contrast even the images. So contrast is extremely powerful. Even like when I start my talks, I usually pace people. I go a little bit slower, and then I bring the energy. I want to contrast my energy up. So 5 things again on influence: freedom of choice, fluency, self-persuasion, self-centered, and contrast. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed this talk. And any questions for me? Give you 1, give you 2, give you 3, no questions. 30 minutes, beautiful. Love you guys. We talk soon. Adios.